of Standard 8. Today in this class of history we shall see Chapter 2, Europe and India, and following are the given points that we shall cover in today's topic. Period of Renaissance. In history of Europe, the last phase of medieval period, that is 13th to 16th century, is known as the period of Renaissance. During this period, Reformation, religious reform movement, and geographical discoveries laid the foundation of the modern era. Hence, this period is also known as the Age of Renaissance. During this period, in the field of art, architecture, philosophy, etc., there was revival of Greek and Roman tradition, which gave momentum to overall development. During the Renaissance, humanitarianism was given great impetus. Literature was produced in local language for better understanding to the common people. During 1450 AD, Johannes Gutenberg from Germany discovered the printing press. Due to this discovery, new ideas, concepts, and knowledge reached to all sections of society. Leonardo Da Vinci. He is recognized as an all-round personality of the period of Renaissance. He was well-versed in different branches of science and art. And because he was all-round personality, he had mastery over varied subjects such as sculpture, architecture, mathematics, engineering, music, astronomy, etc. His famous paintings, that is Mona Lisa and The Last Supper, became immortal. We look into another aspect, that is religious reform movement. The priests were taking advantage of the ignorance of the people and were indulged in unnecessary rituals and looted people in the name of religion. Hence, the independent intellectuals attacked the old religious ideologies of Roman Catholic Church. The movement that began against it is known as the religious reform movement. We see about geographical discoveries. In 1453 AD, the Ottoman Turks conquered Constantinople, now known as Istanbul, which was the capital of the Byzantine Empire. The overland routes went through this city, that is Constantinople. So the Turks blocked this route, and hence there was a need of finding alternative trade route. This led to geographical discoveries. In 1487 AD, Bartholomew Dias, a Portuguese sailor, began his expedition in search of India, but reached the tip of African continent, which we now know as Cape of Good Hope. In 1492 AD, Christopher Columbus set on his journey to India by sailing towards west, but reached on the eastern coast of the continent of America. Vasco da Gama. Oh, this is a famous name. In 1498 AD, Portuguese sailor Vasco da Gama managed to sail past the Cape of Good Hope and reach the Indian coast in Calicut. Intellectual revolution in Europe. The society now steps out of the past ignorance and blind faith and looks at the pre-established customs and traditions with a critical point of view. So there were changes, and these changes were called as intellectual revolution. Revolution in political sphere. Due to various revolutionary events during 18th as well as 19th century, this period is known as the Age of Revolution. During this period, there was development of parliamentary democracy in England, There was change in the form of cabinet system, and during this time Bill of Rights in 1689 laid limitations on the power of the king. The sovereignty of the parliament was now established. American War of Independence. With the discovery of America, the European countries turned their attention now towards this rich continent. England established 13 colonies on the east coast of America. English Parliament laid oppressive restrictions and taxes on these American colonies. So the people in America, they revolted against it. England declared war to suppress these colonies. American colonies now they organized the army under the leadership of George Washington and finally was against England. French Revolution. In 1789 AD, the people of France they revolted against the uncontrolled and unjust monarchy and feudalism and established a republic. This gave the world three values, that is liberty, equality and fraternity. In world history, among the political revolutions, American War of Independence and this French Revolution have a very important place. Industrial Revolution. There were many technological innovations in Europe. The cottage industries were replaced by big factories, machines instead of handlooms. Railway and steamer, they became the important mode of transportation. During this period, England enjoyed industrial prosperity and came to be described as world factory. Rise of capitalism. With the discovery of new sea routes began a new era of trade between Europe and Asia. They were flourishing. So trade with Oriental countries was very profitable and they were responsible for economic prosperity, but it was not at all easy to carry out such trade single-handedly. Hence, European rulers started giving military protection and trade concessions to these trading companies. As we saw, these European rulers started giving military protection and trade concession. This led to accumulation of wealth, and this property was used in the form of capital, leading to rise of capitalist economic system in Europe. Colonialism. Colonialism means one country exploiting another country by making it in a colony. On the basis of economic and military strength, a powerful country occupies another region and establishes its political supremacy. This is known as colonialism. Imperialism. It means a powerful country controls other countries by establishing its overall domination and establishing many colonies. Many countries from Asian and African continent they fell prey to this imperialist aspiration of the European nations. The British established British East India Company in 1600 AD to carry out trade in India. The company took permission from Emperor Jahangir and established its first factory in Surat. The trade between India and England was carried out through this company. Oh, so now all were trying to put their hands on India. England and France were rivals in the competition for trade in India. There were three wars fought between them known as Carnatic Wars. In the Third Carnatic War, England finally defeated France. Therefore, now there was no strong European competitor for British East India Company in India. Now looking at the aspect of foundation of rule of India Company in Bengal. The Bengal province was one of the most prosperous provinces in India. In 1756 AD, Siraj-ud-Dawla became the Nawab of Bengal. East India Company officers misused the trade concessions obtained from Mughal Emperor in Bengal province. They built fortification around a factory at Kolkata without Nawab's permission. So, he captured the factory. Now this is what England didn't like it. This created discontent in England. We know how these people work. Robert Clive, diplomatically, he bribed Mir Jafar, the commander-in-chief of the Nawab's army, and promised to make him the Nawab of Bengal. He created a greed in him. Now Nawab Siraj-ud-Dawla and the British troops met at Plassey in 1757 AD, but under Mir Jafar's leadership, the greedy person, the Nawab's army made no move to actually join the battle, and so Siraj-ud-Dawla, the Nawab, was defeated. With British's support, Mir Jafar, as they had promised, he became the Nawab. But later, Mir Jafar started protesting against the British. Hence, his son-in-law, Mir Qasim, was made the next Nawab. Mir Qasim put restrictions to British's illegal trade, so once again Mir Jafar was made Nawab. Mir Qasim, Shuja-ud-Dawla, the Nawab of Ayodhya, and Mughal Emperor Shah Alam formed an alliance and ran a campaign. In 1764 AD, Battle of Buxar was fought in Bihar. After this battle, British East India Company got the right to collect the revenue from Bengal province as per the Treaty of Allahabad. In this manner, the foundation of British rule in India was laid in Bengal. As the rule was approaching towards Mysore, Hyder Ali from Mysore state rebelled and took control of Mysore. But after his death, his son Tipu Sultan became the ruler of Mysore. He tried his best to fight against the British. Tipu Sultan died in the Battle of Srirangapatna in 1799, and thereafter the British took control of the Mysore territory. To strengthen the British power in India, to make it very strong, the English now they turned their attention towards northwest frontier. So they had this fear in them that Russia might attack India through Afghanistan. So before that only they started establishing their influence over Afghanistan. The route towards Afghanistan went through Sindh. The British understood the importance of Sindh and hence captured it in 1843. In the beginning of the 19th century, the power of Punjab was in the hands of Ranjit Singh. But after his death, his minor son Duleep Singh came to the throne. Since Duleep Singh was a minor son, on his behalf, his mother, Queen Jindan, she started to look after the state affairs, but she could not keep control over the officers. The British, taking advantage of this, bribed some of the Sikh Sardars. Now the Sikh community thought that the British will attack Punjab. So they launched an attack on the British. In this first Anglo-Sikh war, the Sikhs were defeated. But Duleep Singh, still he remained on the throne, which was not acceptable to the Sikhs. Mulraj, officer of Multan, revolted against the English, and again in the second war, the Sikhs were defeated. In 1849, British captured Punjab. The Marathas were strong rulers in India. How did the British strengthen their foundation of rule in India? By defeating the Marathas. This will be studied in our next chapter. I hope all these slides has helped you to understand Europe and India. Thank you, students.